Hello and welcome to Friend Update episode number 3. My name's Dan Wood.
And I'm Adam Spring.
And in today's episode, we're going to be catching up with the main man, the founder, chief architect and COO of Friend, Hogne Titlestad. We'll talk about the origins and the future plans for Friend, and also how technologies like blockchain and IPFS are about to change the internet. Hey guys, and here we are on episode number 3 of Friend Update, and as mentioned, we are here with the main man, Hogne. Hello, Hogne.
Hello.
Now, today we also want to welcome our new viewers who might be watching us for the first time on DTube, which is kind of a blockchain-based YouTube clone, isn't it, Hogne?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It just popped up on my YouTube feed actually the other day, and it's quite exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen loads of hype about that. It's only about 8 days old now, but, you know, we are on that platform as well, right from day one. Now, before we get into what's happening with Friend right now and also some, new changes and new exciting features that are coming along, it would be nice, Hogne, for people that are maybe just discovering our videos, just to quickly get a bit about your background, because you've worked in web development for quite a long time, haven't you, beforehand?
I worked professionally with web development since about 2001. And I have a pretty broad experience, been on all kinds of operating systems and done work on the server, done work made websites essentially and the engines behind them, and increasingly got more advanced in it. So yeah, I've been doing it since the .com years.
Yeah, and what's the core philosophy driving Friend?
Well, the core philosophy driving Friend is access. And this is something that could actually put the name Friend just in one word. So we're talking about revolutionizing access. And access to your cloud computer means access to everything you have online. If you think about the spaces and the digital property you have online, having all of that in one place, having easy access to that, that's what Friend is all about.
So when you first, got into web development, I mean, where did the idea of Friend come from then? Was it frustration at not having this already?
Well, of course, back then, the internet wasn't as advanced as it is right now. And actually, most people back then used several apps to access their content online. The web browser was just one of the applications they were using. We can remember Napster and MSN and ICQ and all of that. And so it was very different. And, to the mind back then, it could have continued being several different app providers. I think for me personally, it was more about using all the different systems that we had to kind of master. We had to use Windows at work, for example, and at home it was a little bit of this and that. You had older versions of Windows. It was typical to see a Millennium version of Windows, Windows 95, Windows 98 Plus, everything in between. And it was all the differences between the operating systems, really, that was frustrating, at least jumping from machine to machine, seeing that it should have been so much easier. And it was also the time when you got Java, which was going to solve all of this. Also, it was a little bit of wanting to, let people have more control over their operating system, because all these changes happened not because of popular demand, but because of having to come out with the next version. Essentially to sell new products. And for me, going on to the Linux bandwagon, I could see that the Linux model with having free upgrades and being able to choose was so important. But of course, in a format that was only for geeks and experts. And so wanting to have an easy-to-use operating system that you had the same amount of control over, I think that's where it really started. And if you fast forward to today with all the possibilities, kind of the road has built itself to giving us this opportunity. And so Friend is past frustrations paired with modern frustrations and finding the solution to that.
So as a general user coming to Friend, and I guess this is a two-part question, because I'm thinking about a general user and I'm thinking about a developer. So if I was a general user using Friend, what would be the advantages for me of using it? And then at the same time, if I'm a developer, what would be the really attractive thing for me coming to Friend and developing for Friend? And what tools would I use?
So for a normal user using Friend, it's all about following where their digital property is. And so by saying digital property, it's the images, it's the music that they own, it's the apps that they love to use, it's all the things that they bought or otherwise acquired the rights to use and watch. And most of this is online today, but it's oftentimes boxed into vendors, policies, and end user license agreements and all of that. For the user, it's a way to gain control over their own property and also feel like they own their cloud computer. So even though it's online, they have the freedom to use it as if it's one of those computers that once you have acquired it, it's actually fully yours. It's as much your property as the content you view on it. So for the user, it's about access and it's about control. For developers, it is a really open platform for distribution of their creations. So they can use whatever development tools they want. They don't have to use the stuff that will be eventually really good inside of Friend. They could use their existing setups. But when they use Friend, they can share those apps with anyone online. And there's no system requirements really. I mean, everybody has the browser. They can run Friend in that, and then they can access it. And also it's about the interconnectivity. When you're in Friend, you have a huge network of people who can get in touch with each other. They can play together. They can exchange files and they can collaborate. And so in that environment, especially since we're kind of giving people several networking technologies that they can standardize on if they wish, it's a really easy target if you want to kind of reach a lot of people without having to support a lot of different platforms.
Now, you did make a really interesting point there because, you got me thinking then about the fact that we used to have to use a different machine at home and at work, and you might have an application installed on your corporate network, but you haven't got access to it at home, and you'd have to either track it down or get it licensed. Friend eliminates all that, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But of course, you still have the old world. Mm-hmm. So we do have a revolution going on at the moment in many different fields. You have the cryptocurrency stuff happening all over the place, with the blockchain stuff that comes close to that. And of course, we have the web revolution in general. Now, you might still want to access all your own software, but the whole distribution model will change in a powerful way. You will have a lot of people streaming applications online. So using Windows applications or even Apple or other applications, even PlayStation games, will be streaming services in the future. So all of that is going to happen. It's going to happen in the same space where we revolutionize apps in general. But for thinking about Friend applications being built and other web applications in general, it's about being able to use them on any device, being able to use them on your phone, on your tablets, even in VR. Using these web technologies. And to be able to achieve that, you need something like Friend, which is tuned to be interface agnostic, so that you can use different devices, but the same system. This is really a powerful thing with Friend, that it can actually adapt to so many different systems while having the same compatibility, so that developers don't have to make their apps 3 times over for different platforms.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned blockchain a little bit, and then obviously something that's always come with cloud computing has been the issue of security. And I think it's really interesting with blockchain because to me, blockchain has come from a clear application, which is cryptocurrencies, finance. Say if something like Ethereum gets hacked, then it gets solved. And that's how blockchain, I think, is becoming so popular, is because it had a clear application. So I was wondering if you could talk more about how blockchain is fitting into the Friend app makeup. And also, for general sort of viewers, what blockchain actually is.
Well, you know, in Friend, we started out as a company taking investments and building products for companies. And we do have a cloud revolution. And so a lot of people are, thinking about moving all of their services into the cloud and reaching their customers without having to offer a download, for example. And so in this case, you're kind of centralizing the cloud infrastructure at the commercial company's side. So they have their own cloud infrastructure and they want to offer their customers access through that so they can monetize. Now, having said that, of course, Friend has a huge potential, with regular consumers, and that's kind of where the big deal is at. And we've been thinking about that from the very start. Of course, my motive for starting the Friend technology was for regular people and not for companies, even though that's how you build a technology to build a business. And the fantastic thing about the blockchain technology is that some great people in the world have now invented a model where you can actually monetize open source software without having a centralized strategy. So blockchain is essentially using cryptography to prove the identity and ownership of data. So you have blocks of data that are linked on the internet and replicated between a lot of different servers, so that you can prove that it's actually your data that's out there. And it does this in a really fundamental way, so that you can even use it for banking. You can use it for proving contracts, and with blockchains like Ethereum, you can even put into intelligent contracts where you need, you have something called an escrow, where you have multiple parties that need to kind of identify to trigger a transaction in a banking system or just between the different parties. And the fantastic thing about this technology is that it isn't owned by anyone, and it's out there as part of the internet. Today you have so many different blockchains out there with different strategies. The Ethereum blockchain is all about monetizing transactions. Then you have things like Steam IT, which is without the transaction fee. So it's kind of a free blockchain, which is where, for example, the DTube YouTube clone is built on top of. So taking Friend into this, which is a really fantastic opportunity, will allow us to build the Friend operating system into the internet itself, just like the blockchain technology has been built into it. So when somebody somewhere is running an open source Friend server, they're actually being part of creating this internet-based operating system that everybody can access. And then by putting the files and the apps and the services into the same technology, you're really being able to access your own stuff with proof by proving your identity, getting access to it from anywhere in the world. It's really a great opportunity.
Well, speaking of things that have been kind of making the headlines and trending recently, I mean, a lot of people may have heard about IPFS, which is another technology that we're very interested in, also incorporating into Friend as well. Explain a bit more about IPFS and how we'll be using it.
So I've been following the IPFS project for about 2 years now, and I'm a regular guy at their Internet Relay Chat conference room. And they've been building this BitTorrent-like file system now for a while. I think it's at least from 2014 or so. And the idea comes from BitTorrent, but of course it has been tainted in a positive way by also the emerging blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies. But what it essentially is a really decentralized file system where you can put in any amount of data and it's permanently there. It cannot be deleted. So it's great for journalists and against censorship. But it's also really great for depositing your own data. So by using encryption, it allows you to safely and securely mask your data so that other people cannot access it. So if somebody breaks into your IPFS drive and you have encrypted it, they still cannot see the images or listen to the music. So they made this kind of worldwide repository of your files. And for Friend, this means that any Friend user, free or paying customer, using one of the channels, they will still be able to access storage space that is essentially limitless, and it's really fast, which it really changes, with a built-in kind of backup system where you won't lose your files. So it's a little bit fresh though, and they still have some way to go to prove that it's kind of impossible to break it, but that's being done right now. And DTube, which is going to be a massive site like Vimeo or YouTube, will prove that it works. And once it's proven, then I think you'd be a fool not to consider putting your files there.
Well, when you consider right now, most people's backup solution is like a USB drive hooked into their PC under the table. It really is a revolution compared to that.
Yes, it's utterly amazing. Can you imagine what it means for example, multiplayer game developers? Mm-hmm. They could put all their files on IPFS and they would have almost no load on their servers. So this is what's going to happen in the future. In the future, program logic is going to be in the servers that are owned by companies, because it has perhaps their closed source code and all that stuff. But what it essentially means is, people won't generally accept you running a program on their computer. That's not secure. You could have a virus. You can't trust anybody to just come into your computer and run programs. Even there are fantastic teams of people working on that problem right now. Encrypted computers, which could actually be distributed just like files. But what you would like to do as a multiplayer game developer, or even making a website, is that even though you wouldn't put the program logic behind your applications out on everybody's machines, there would be absolutely no problem putting the files out on everybody's machines. Yeah. And so your load on your servers would be reduced by, 80% more than that. And that in itself is a revolution.
Yeah, I mean, the potential there for, not just efficient information flow, but also processing as well, because I think in, architectural engineering, construction areas where you're using things like point clouds and stuff like that, which, gaming environments, it's all polygons. But this, again, it's so graphics intensive. This could just be such a game changer. It's incredible.
It's utterly incredible. And this is the thing to understand. Once the idea is there, and it's even open source, people will replicate the technology. They will, experiment with it. But the idea is there, the time is right, and you can't stop this idea from manifesting. And so the best thing you can do is to think about, what opportunity does this give us? And with Friend, it's a massive opportunity. It's an opportunity where even the whole point of using Friend will be having easy access to unlimited storage space. So for us, this is like a gift from the internet.
Well, we've used the word revolution in this video several times, and I don't think we can overuse that word, because this, to me, is probably the most exciting time since the birth of the web, really, isn't it, in terms of technology? In terms of you, Hogne, I mean, obviously this is your baby, Friend, from concept to where we are now. Who do you want to get involved, and what do you want people to do with this technology right now?
Well, I want to build a community. That's the most important thing, and it's going to be the most important thing we do for years to come, because we not only have to build a vast and large community, but we have to build a good community, and a community which will define the Friend platform, essentially. So we're doing a lot of work. We're trying to find people, because up till now, it's been more difficult for people to find us. And our project might, even though it's so broad in its specter, seem a little bit narrow from people who never knew what it was. So we've been working on building a forum and building activity in social media. And so at the moment, we would really like to get in touch with more people who really kind of burn for the cloud or the web revolution, and get involved with those. And it's not only developers, it's also people who really want this dream. A lot of people are skeptical about the cloud, and a lot of people are really happy when we tell them that they're going to be able to build their offline friend environment that has all the same advantages as the version you will find in the cloud on the web. So people are building their own setups who are not necessarily programmers. People who tinker, that's a fantastic thing. Even the Raspberry Pi community, we have a student with us now this week from up north at the university. He's building a Raspberry Pi version just here at the office. So
fantastic.
Everybody who's doing something innovative with the web technologies should get into the Friend platform, because it has so much to offer them.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to mention as well, is the fact that you've gone through an incredibly difficult period. In the fact you've taken 3 years to develop this. You're now at the point of starting something. And I think for anybody watching this, that's an important thing to include, because this isn't going away. One way or the other, it's staying, and it's going to move forward. And I think this idea of organic growth and organic community building is it's really, really cool. Really, really cool.
Friend is open source now. It's there's a lot of documentation out there, more coming, and it's not going anywhere. It's going to build it. We're building user base in so many different countries, and a lot of people with so many different backgrounds have so much to contribute. And we're really open to work with so many people on a really close level. This is definitely something to get involved with now.
So anybody that's been watching this and maybe just you maybe viewed our videos and you're kind of sitting on the fence, now's the time to join the revolution, isn't it?
Friend needs you.
Oh yeah. Let's revolutionize access.
So, of course, if you have got any questions, as always, we're very approachable, always open to answering your queries. Just leave a comment on this video, join us on the developer forums or the IRC channel. I'll provide all of those links in the video description. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.